Hi, I'm Kendall Trotter.
And I'm Steve Hawks.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Las Vegas Real Estate Update. This is a continuation of a recent update that we have done recently on mortgage fraud. As we stated before, we did 3 mortgage fraud episodes about 4 months ago, hit the news, and all that did was more questions arose out of that than answers. So we're going to try to shed some light on this topic. It's all over the news. It's just basically in the news every day, you know. So let's define a few different things, Steve. There's 2 kinds of mortgage fraud. There's fraud for property and there's fraud for profit. In our last episode, we did our fraud for profit. People doing LLCs, straw buyers, all that kind of stuff. Then there's the other kind, there's fraud for property. And this is the kind that probably would affect most people that, got a loan, maybe fudged the documents a little bit. I think there's probably a lot of people out there watching that are probably maybe a little nervous now going, wow, maybe I, padded my income a little bit when I took out that loan, and are these people going to be in trouble? I think that's the real question that we've gotten a lot of emails and telephone calls on this, and people have actually called us. And am I guilty? And are we in trouble? So we want to talk a little bit about this to the everyday Joe or Joan, whatever it may be, that took out a loan, living in the house. Are they in trouble? Steve, are they in trouble?
Well, most likely if they're paying the loan and there's no attention to the loan, it's probably going to skate through. Well, it is going to skate through. There's too much fraud for profit that has occurred. We spoke about it before. A lot of the people that were used as straw buyers in properties that didn't know about it are concerned, are they guilty of mortgage fraud? Well, that's not really for us to determine, but when the whole scheme of thing is looked at, if you have one realtor or one loan officer doing hundreds of deals with several different people that were told to fill out a mortgage application a certain way in order for them to do the cash back to go to these third-party LLCs, most likely those people aren't going to be in trouble. They're going to be more helping to...
Yeah, well, we're talking about the straw buyers here, the victims of, hey, let's use your credit, we'll get you in this investment group.
And technically they committed loan fraud, but they were told by professionals what to do.
Right.
The other kind, the fraud for property, that's a little more common. People are, trying to get a bigger house, trying to do this.
Let's put a scenario out there. I'm a dealer, okay? I deal blackjack on the Strip. Obviously, my income doesn't show my tips and things, so that, in my opinion, that's kind of why they invented the stated income loan, which you always call the liar loan.
Yeah.
But the banks knew it was a liar loan.
Well, the stated income is just, you're stating your income. It doesn't mean you're lying about it. You're supposed to state your correct income. Yeah, it left the door open for people to put more than they should have put on the line. But at the bottom it says, if you lie in this paper, it's perjury.
Right.
Paraphrasing.
Right.
So, but if these people are paying on time, they're not bringing attention to the property, then these files aren't going to be looked at. If they went to a particular group that was doing a lot of fraud for properties where the loan officer or the realtor was doing a lot and they have a high foreclosure rate, then yeah, that's going to draw a red flag, and it might come up as a red flag if they're behind on their payments or they get foreclosed on. Well, that's going to be a red flag.
But Steve, the real deal here is that any cocktail waitress or craps dealer that makes tips, their W-2, obviously, at the end of every year, probably doesn't show their true income. And you know what, people, that's great. We're not out here to bust anybody or anything, but we all, I grew up in this town, so I know the name of the game here, okay? So the stated income loan was very popular, especially in Las Vegas, because we have so many tip earners.
Right.
And they could really afford these homes that they're buying, but if they claimed that much, the IRS would just kill them. So, it was kind of a catch-22.
Well, that's not fraud because they were stating what they really made.
Okay.
So that's not a problem. But like I said before, there's so many fraud for profit schemes out there that by the time, they're never going to really get to the fraud for property. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Another huge factor is the fraud for profit has like a 98% foreclosure rate, and the fraud for property has a much lower. The fraud for property is probably below 10%.
Right.
So there's obviously a lot more. For example, fraud for profit, when the banks take the houses back, a $500,000 house was bumped to $800,000. So the lender thinks they're getting an $800,000 house. They'll sell it for $600,000. They get their money back. No problem.
Also, a lot of the fraud for profit, there was never one payment made on the home. In a lot of cases, correct?
At most, they made maybe 6 to 9, thinking they would be bought outright.
But in a lot of them, it was just like, we got our cash back, and now we're moving on to another state.
Right, and the fraud for the profit, again, the lender doesn't recoup most of their losses. A fraud for property, the lender many times recoups a high percentage of the loan amount because it wasn't bumped up.
Well, let's talk about this. If there was fraud for property, a lot of it was due to the fraud for profit because of the values got inflated. People still wanted to own their homes.
Right.
I mean, everybody wants to own their homes. That is the American dream. So you had a guy that paid $500,000 across the street. Maybe that was a loan fraud deal, whatever. But now they got the comp, so now everybody's house is worth more.
Right.
Now this guy across the street goes, "Hey, I'm going to go get a home equity line of credit and buy a new boat because now my house is worth this."
Well, it was tempting because people were saying, well, if
very tempting.
If a majority of the people can afford these $500,000 homes, then obviously I can. Well,
Exactly.
that's just human nature.
Right.
So these people didn't realize that these homes that were going for $500,000, whatever the price may be, a lot of them were overinflated by the cash.
All they knew was, I can't believe that house sold for $500,000.
Right.
Man, what does my house got to be worth now? Because it was way nicer than that.
And now they're saying, I can't believe that house sold for $220 on the auction block.
Sometimes I can't believe it either, Steve.
So.
But that is the sign of the times right now.
Right.
But I would say that to anybody, like, I'm not an expert and don't take this to the bank, but I would think that anybody that's living in a house and they're trying to make the payments, I'm going to say, if they fudge the numbers a little bit, was it right? No. Were you told to do it by somebody?
Most likely.
Your loan officer? Yes. But once again, was it right? No. But I don't think that these people are going to be looked like as the biggest criminals in the world, because they were just really trying to buy a home. And with all of the inflated values that got, the real criminals caused, anybody that wanted to buy a home in a certain school district or something, they had to pay that because that's what the comps were. And this is so thick, people. We're going to be hearing about this for a long time, and it's going to take a while for all this to unravel and get back to normal.
Correct. People are just starting to see the effects of their neighborhood. Now they're seeing the effects of mortgage fraud in the neighborhood, which we'll cover on another edition.
And we plan on doing that. But I think we're about running out of time. We do welcome your emails. And if you think that maybe something's happened to you, Steve would love to hear from you. I'm Kendall Trotter.
And I'm Steve Hawks.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Las Vegas Real Estate Update.